Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Inworld Review. Our apologies if you were expecting us to be on the hour, but we are close to being on the half hour. A few technical difficulties, but I'm sure many of you won't even know that because you tend to watch in replay, don't you? Okay, if anybody is watching live, do feel free to make comments in the comments bit at YouTube, and we'll try and address them in the program here. Right, this program is dedicated to virtual environments, so sort of immersive spaces, and well, virtual worlds you can call them. By and large, on the hypergrid, which is part of the Open Simulator complex. We look at arts basically and destinations, and we work with the Hypergrid Safari, which is a wonderful weekly sort of community group that trots around the place in season, of course, but definitely Halloween's definitely a season. I can assure you that. And yeah, so I'm here with Thirza Ember, who runs the Safari and wonderful news source and everything else. Welcome, Thirza.
Hello, everybody, and hello from my cat who has just come into the room.
I
Oh,
just
meow.
heard it. We normally rely on sound effects for our cats, so maybe
Meow.
maybe you just maybe. Oh, I love it. Okay, I love it. If James can play the sound effect, the cat can do it for real, and they can talk to each other all the way through the show. All I get.
Sure, sure.
Right, also joined by James Atlloud, who fiddles with all the knobs here, which means he basically switches between my desktop and two slideshows and the avatars on stage and anything else we tend to throw at him. And yeah, and yeah, somehow between all that, he manages to speak occasionally too. So welcome, James.
Yeah, crazy thing that speaking. Go figure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotta get used to it. It's speaking is one of these new things that's
yeah.
entered the communication
Outside my
medium.
skill set.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
modern age and all that. Yeah. But yeah, I was getting a lot of practicing with those, which were
Wow.
The
sort of
monkey
precursor.
man.
That was a kind of precursor to speaking. Never
Absolutely.
mind, never mind. I don't think we better
Wow.
go there, otherwise I'll
Right,
be.
right.
Well, welcome to the monkey verse. There you go. Okay, never mind, never mind. Okay, but we're also very pleased to have with us today Nyx Breen, who's on the alternative metaverse grid, and we'll be talking all about his regions and things, and his photography and all sorts of stuff. Actually, I was going to sing the song as time goes by, but actually it's been a very few minutes indeed. So welcome, Nyx.
Well, thank you very much, Mal. I want to say hello to everyone in World Reviews. Thizra, thank you for pulling me around through all the other places I had to go to get here. And James, I'm looking forward to see what you do. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, well, let's get going as we always do with a sort of a roundup of things here and there and news. I'm just starting with I've only got a couple of web pages to really show this week. There weren't many links in the Metaworld News Twitter, but obviously we do have a couple from Theza herself. Which she'll be mentioning anyway. I'm starting off with a screenshot. This is actually Opensim World, and they have a tab here for regions, and when I get there, I can click on latest, and there's a lot you can do at OpenSim World. Wouldn't you agree, Cesar?
Oh boy, it's a great site.
Yeah. This particular tab is I just find it kind of useful because if you've got a tab open in the background while you're in World and wonder where to go, having the latest tab, latest regions open, it gives you an idea. Some of it's got no users yet or something, others are promos, and they tend to be listed in the number of users they've got in them. And remember, this is brand new regions, like latest regions. So you wouldn't expect them necessarily to have a lot of people yet because they're not yet known. But it's quite a fun place to go. I'm looking at this right now and thinking, where the hell are the Halloweens? But there we go. I'm sure they were here somewhere if you sort of click
Oh,
along.
there's Halloween.
There's plenty
There's
of them
definitely
about.
Halloween.
Yeah. So I keep that as a permanent tab in the background here, just in case we need it. Right. So moving on to This is a site called hgsafari.blogspot.com, and I guess you can't guess what that's about. This is Thirza Ember's site, in fact, looking at the various places we've been. And oh, well, the first stop was Snoots in the City. This is actually Thirza's blog, complete with lovely little animated GIFs here. And we were, well, if I'll tell you what, if you want to talk a little bit about this,
Sure.
as we sit there, and I've also got in the background here when we're ready a little clip, a 3 minute clip of the actual venue.
That
That
would be
I,
great to
I
see
went
that.
to the day before, basically. So basically, you on here, of course, you've got a bit of a piece of the conversation and stuff. The video I've got is absolutely silent, but you've got some talk here with Snooze, haven't you?
Yeah, he explained to us a little bit about it, but if you want to show the video, we can look at the video while we talk about Replicant
Okay.
City.
We will do it that way around. Okay, so oh, hang on, no, Snoots and Spooks, similar names here. Right, okay, here we go.
So this is a brilliant build. It's an old build because it began, I should think about 10 years, maybe a little more than that ago, that Snoots began building in Opensim. And he is very interested in two things, in fantasy and things like dinkies and small people. And in fact, his avatar is a very small dragon. And he's also very interested in classic sci-fi, as you can see from this build. So he has put together a collection over the years, and it's made up of found objects, obviously, but more important than that, things that he's made himself that are tributes to various TV shows and films. That includes Tron, Blade Runner, Doctor Who, Star Trek, obviously. And another great one here is Firefly, for those who enjoyed
Oh, I love that.
Firefly. Yeah, I think everybody did. And why they cancelled it, nobody knows. And so what he's done is he's built various ships and robots and displays. There's a fantastic Dalek that is a building. You can go inside it. And this is just the arrival area in Replicant City. Beyond that and outside, there are 9 huge spaceships. And so it's easy to miss some of the build, so it's really worth taking the time to explore it properly and use the teleport system. And so you can go upstairs and see the spaceships. But I really love this central area because he has all the various, it's like a toy box, really. Because you've got all the fantastic items. And then below that, there's another floor where there are images, where he's got lots of posters and photographs and funny memes of different TV shows and just commentary on world events. And of course, it goes back over many years, so it's a sort of an archive of the thoughts over a decade of loving sci-fi and commenting on it. So it's a really fun place to visit. We had a little lag, I can't lie. Probably it was the first time so many people have been on this particular sim altogether. But for anybody who wants to see it, it's worth going back. The spaceships up above are just phenomenal. And he did a really good job of showing us just the highlights, really. But we certainly didn't see everything during our tour. So even if you came on the tour, it's worth going back. Oh, yeah, Stargate, too. That was another thing that he explained about. You can use that Stargate as a teleporter, and it will take you to see any themed subject that you're interested in. So if you say to the Stargate Tron, it will take you to the section that has Tron items in it. So it's a really fun place.
Ah, lovely. Yeah, I even filming there with that then, it was a wee bit laggy, I've got to admit. But I did it the day before just to get some silent footage. So, but it gives you a fairly
think
good idea.
And for example, my favorite part was that he showed us was when we went to see. You just passed it now. There's a bunch of stuff about Star Trek, and he has for example, the blueprints of all the different ships, which is fascinating to look at. And there you have the lovely Tina Bay, wonderful Tina Bay, who's a brilliant builder in her own right and makes a lot of Star Trek and sci-fi builds. Anyway, those consoles that she's standing by, they contain the various blueprints of the ships that belong to Star Trek. In the sky above, we visited a ship that Snoots was received as a donation, and that is it's a non-canon ship. In other words, it's similar to Star Trek, but it isn't actually from any of the shows, and that's a brilliant build too. And this was very good too. The interactive astronomy place, I've really loved that. And after the initial lag passed off, I think we all pretty much could see what was going on. It was only the first maybe 10 minutes that the lag was a bit of a struggle. But it's a great build, and he should be very proud of it.
A lot of things like those particles and stuff tend to, they come in as grey bits now and again, but once they get going, they tend to be pretty stable, and they don't seem to affect.
You know yourself, Mal, and James would say the same, I'm sure. If you power through, if you have a little patience and you power through, you are rewarded, because these are all fascinating places, and it's very rare that a place remains laggy for the whole trip, especially if you relog. You can usually resolve a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and as people drop out, things also sometimes get better, so that makes a difference.
That's true.
Right.
That's true, yeah. So, but kindly depart. We will
The weaklings.
Right.
The impatient people leave, and then we're all like, oh, that's good. Now it's really fun here.
This wasn't a Halloween-specific thing, I think, but of course this shot, the Hall of Funny.
It is really funny too. If you go inside there, they're hilarious. There's all these like jokes and posters, and I mean, there are thousands of posters in there. I mean, let's be fair. There is a huge number of posters, but they are really funny. And it's also it's just kind of a snapshot in time too, because some of them refer to TV shows that haven't been on the TV for years and years. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's a sort of it's a document and an archive of TV watching over the last say 50 years. It's pretty good.
The only thing I regret is I didn't seem to get any film of panning out, so they could see the stuff outside the build. But...
Yeah, it was difficult. Yeah, it's quite. It is a little cramped in there for filming. That is true.
Absolutely.
Gifts.
I mean, that's what, like you said, you likened it to a toy box, and the top of the box and the bottom of the box and all the size plus what's in it, all neatly configured to get the maximum amount in a small amount of space, and it works, but. It's like walking around on a region. You can only do.
And can I just give a shout out to Thunder God Thor, who we call Thor, and so this was his first ever. He's been a host before, but he's never come on Safari before, and he managed to stay on Safari for the whole thing, which is remarkable. I think he's the first person that's ever managed to stay to the end. It's a very good job. Yeah, great job. A great guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've come across him in the past. I think he might have been on Canada way back when. Anyway, moving on to your other post of the week, which is Nymeria, Halloween season and blah, blah, blah. And is this the special hunt tomorrow? It is, isn't it? So...
It is, yeah. The region is shut at present. It's going to be open when we are invited to enter. And I think it's going to be open for 2 weeks, maybe, something like that. There are 20 prizes. They're usually pretty good prizes on Ange and Nani's builds. This one is a Halloween-themed thing where you've got zombies and some kind of... mysterious disease that has spread from whatever was in those containers on the container ship that crashed into the island. Unfortunately, the island is also volcanic, so you've got a bunch of lava in there too. And
zombies and giant spiders, please.
And there's a lot of spiders too. And so, but it's pretty tricky. I'm going to say it's another hard hunt. It's not easy. But it's worth it. Once you get into it, there is a sense of satisfaction of figuring things out. In this blog post, I've explained pretty much how to find the first prize. but there's 19 others, so I'm not really giving anything away.
There's no cheat sheet for me.
I just want to point out, though, that this is on European time, and the safari is at 9 p.m. European time, Paris time. And so if you're on American time, that is not going to be the same. And I thoroughly recommend you Google what time is it now in Paris, and that will tell you what time the safari is going to be.
Yeah, I think we're 7
Don't
hours
ask me to
different
tell you.
this week. Yeah. Yep.
So we're not. It's not the. It's an hour before the normal time. Is that right?
I'm not even going to comment on
Don't
that
even
because
try.
I always
Okay.
get it wrong.
Let your clock do the thinking.
Yeah, let you
Exactly.
go do the thinking. I think it's Monday, 31st of October, and of course, no time.
And I mean, if you miss the safari, you can go anytime afterwards. You don't have to
yeah,
join
of
the
course,
group.
yeah, and it's OS grid, the region.
It does say 12 noon SLT there, but it shouldn't. It should say 21 hours Paris time. Sorry about that.
Right, which will be actually.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It will be. It will actually be.
I think it's an hour earlier,
It's 11
Right.
a.m. It's 11
right.
a.m. Pacific. Yeah.
I believe. you.
Okay. Well, let's do that lot there for now. And moving back in world, I guess you've got a screen beside you here with some other highlights, including another repeat of that one we were just talking about, I think. So
Sure.
you want to tell us what and anything. Tell us anything else that's new as well while you're at it.
Sure. So a lot of the Halloween parties have already happened this weekend because a lot of people prefer to do the Halloween events on Saturday and Sunday. So many are going on right now while we're talking. But there will actually be on Halloween, which is lovely, on Dorena's World. Anacron and Dorena are doing a party on the Monday night, which is Halloween. And that also is on European time. So it says 19 Uhr. So that's 7 o'clock, that's Berlin time, so check your clocks before you try going there. And that's going to be a fun party. The Germans really know how to do Halloween. The second one, this is really interesting. This is Candiranian, and it's a brand new region, and this is a sort of a spirit night on Candiranian, which is on Soul Grid, and I'll put the link in the chat in a minute. Soul Grid has a bunch of really pretty regions, but this is their new roleplay, and it's Scarlet Candors, who is the lady you need to see, and they're using Halloween as a way to introduce the brand new build. It's very pretty, very realistic, photorealistic, set in a medieval German ambience, but they all speak German, so if you don't speak German, prepare for confusion.
Exactly.
But it's all fun. It's all fun. And next up, this picture here shows you a place that is on Neverworld. They have just opened a brand new steampunk area on the brand new region called Bountiful, which is a continent. I think it's like a 40 VAR regions or something. It's huge anyway. If you have a Neverworld avatar and you go in pretty regularly, you can have free land on the continent wherever you like, and you can build. They're just working on a steampunk bit, and there's an area for satyrs, and there's so much going on there. I don't even know it all. But it's a really great project that Govega is working on. And this is what she said to me. She said, we're opening up the residential areas for steampunk in the sim Night Sky. So if you go over there, look for the sim called Night Sky and grab a bit of land. And this will include a satyr region or two. It is a bit slow, she said, because it's only open to Neverworld residents, but it's gradually getting built up. So this is a project that's been going on, as you know, for a few months. So it's a fun thing to do. It's worth having more than one avatar or more than one grid, and you can be a part of that. That's the same poster. Oh, here, this is important for anybody who was interested in that fashion show that was a few weeks back. if you missed the show, but you were interested in knowing more about the clothes, which are original mesh clothes made in Opensim for Opensim and free, then Laura, who organised the event, she has given the full list of the places where you can pick up those free clothing. And I'll put that again in the comments in the live chat here on the side so that people watching this video can see that. I'll do that in a minute. So that's the next one. And then, November the 1st, not tomorrow, but Tuesday, on OS Grid, there is the Day of the Dead event. This should be really cool because it's Clan Escotia, who is a really cool singer. And probably Nyx has heard him because he plays a lot on AMV over there on Alternate Metaverse Grid. And he and his band are doing an event, and the idea is that you wear a mask, that you remove name tags, and you just dance with whoever shows up. So it's to try and form a bit of mystery on the event, a mystery ball. And that's by Essential McMahon, by the way. And then next we have the Frenchies. It's the first Thursday of the month, this Thursday. So, of course, they have their version of the safari, which is where the Frenchies all go to see a French language build. And this week they're going to Noval, which is a fantastic build. If you haven't seen it yet, you have to go. It's a hunt build, but there's a bunch of other stuff happening. And it's just really well scripted and a huge amount of fun. It's just hilarious. I recommend to anybody to go and take a look at that over on Noal. And again, I'll put the link in the comments. This again is the event that we just talked about on Namarelea, which is the safari that's going to be tomorrow, which we already talked about. And then over on AMV, always, there's the Dia de los Muertos, which is the Dinkies. Seems crazy, but Dinkies are dead as well, apparently. The dead,
Good
the
eatings.
The night
dead,
of
the
the
smaller
walking,
dead.
the night of the walking dinkies. Da-da-da.
Anyway, this is our lovely Sophie, who we love, who makes the Blah 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 magazine. And this is her event, and it's on November the 2nd. But you can go even tomorrow, not tomorrow, on November the 1st. You can go and take a look at the region she's made. It's for dinkies, but, you know, if you're not straight away a dinky, I'm sure you'll be fine. She's got lots of avatars available, so she'll sort you out with something.
Kick you out.
And that's it. Yeah, she'll kick you out. She's a girl for that. So that's it. That's the news for this week. I'm sure there are many, many more events happening. And anybody who's watching this show who would like their special event to be featured on Inworld Review, just drop me a DM and we'll mention it in upcoming shows. Thank you very much.
And it does occur to me, actually, I mean, it's not a major part of what we tend to do normally, but there's no reason if you have something, you're watching this now, for example, or on Monday, and you have something coming up in the week, you could always plug it in the chat here. If it allows you to comment, you know, well, do it. Plug
Yes,
it.
we should apologize for that. There's sometimes YouTube is, and it's not in our control, but sometimes YouTube, you put a message in YouTube and it just doesn't show. So we don't know why that happens, but it seems to be a global problem.
Yeah, it has a habit of doing it with anonymous content. So if when you go to YouTube, you don't log in under your normal username, if you do, it knows who you are and it gives you a credit on the comment. But if you're anonymous, that seems to be where it fails. So
okay.
good idea. Okay, well, just before we segue into other stuff, we've got this guy Mike McHugh. You can probably see on the center screen on the video still here. He's the owner of Mike Stream. He was doing a lot of streaming stuff back at the OS Fest. And this one's called Spooktacular. I'm not going to show it because it's 9 minutes long. But I'm going to come down here to this one, which is day 2 of Spectacular. I'm not quite sure what grid it's on, but this is only 3 minutes and it's got a bit of music behind it. So I thought we'd play this before we segue into Nyx. Feel free to talk over it, of course, as well.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
The new skyboxes are great for these atmospheric effects. It's great.
I picked up this video, but it didn't seem to indicate exactly which grid it was on. Most of what he films is, of course, on. Well, it might be Opensim, but
Yeah, I don't know.
there's an advert in the background for the clan thing you mentioned earlier, and if well, just wait for this.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Webby, who's partnered with Clan, a lot of work. They never show the same show with their animations. They do it completely different every single time. And as these are essential, first up, you need to be in advanced light setting to see what she does. She does a phenomenal job with what she sets up and produces and puts out.
Yeah, I think really advanced setting is basically, if you're not in that, you're not really seeing anything.
It's tough for some people's computers. Anvil Island. Tightly.
So this was quite literally yesterday, wasn't it? Oh, kindly, that's what it was. Yeah.
Was over at his grid for a party type thing. As you mentioned, Jimmy, inside the skyboxes with the meteor effects, it does look pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to be careful, though, if they do it where they have it flow as a pattern across it. It can be a little tough for some people to look at.
Oh, I suppose so, right?
Oh, I was one, and I'm building these 3D art things that are lights and flashing too, but just one. Otherwise, like the lightning and all that, it looked great. But you always got to watch.
Well, I got another one here from him. It's also entitled Spectacular Day 2, but it's 15 minutes, so I'm not going to play all of it, but we'll just have a quick look at it, because this was Clan, apparently. Although it looks to me very much like the same venues. I'll do a bit of scrolling on this just to. It looks to me like it's very much the same.
I was at this event. The building that they're in, which is the stage, Webby created that.
Yeah, everything Clan does is built by Webby, I think.
Yes. And she does all the animations and all the textures. Webby dedicates to the art of creation.
Well, at least we could say we were able to show something that is very distinctively Halloween in the video clips. So, yes, we might play a bit more of that another time. But of course, we've got the whole show to do here, and we've got all the other clips. As you can see, I'm flipping through the clips here to make sure I can see. Right, that's what we did. And okay, I'm going to go to the bottom here. Okay, now. We will introduce you formally. He was giving some commentary a few minutes ago. That was Nyx Breen from Alternative Metaverse. Welcome, Nyx, formally, I would say. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? And
well, once again, thank you for inviting me to the chicken cat monkeyverse that you all talked about earlier.
Yes.
I've been around in virtual worlds for a long time, going back into very early 2006 in SL, and then later discovered Opensim World and left Virtual World called SL, and have been creating in multiple grids over the years. Real life artist up in the the northeast part of the United States, city called Boston. I'm a curator and an artist for the oldest art community in New England, and I started the Public Arts Commission in the community I live that is called Revere, and Revere Beach is the oldest public beach in America. So that's my claim on the real life side, as people say. On the virtual world, I've been doing all sorts of. Go ahead.
Not to mention, by the way, you are also making a real life photographer as well as the virtual art and things.
Right. If you type in Nyx Breen and anything associated with it, nyxbreen.com, Instagram, Flickr, YouTube, whatever, I'll be found. I come up on that. Anyway, on the virtual world side, as I said, I've been in a lot of places. I produce stuff, and I've got some clips and pictures from Second Life, Inworld, Discovery. Now I'm over on AMV. I want to say thank you to Cliff personally for helping making sure that when Thirza came with the crowd to come visit our sim, that everything worked well. He does a great job with that. You put your notice in, and it's usually like he's IMing you within minutes to make sure, unless it's at night, because he is over in that Brit time zone. It's friendly, it's fun, and it's supportive. They're definitely cats supportive of the arts on the grid, so there's a lot of it. My sim is dedicated. I've got a 4x4 with lots of prims, and on the land itself, it's realistic tropical beach on the edges, and as you move in, it changes and gets higher up. But up above in the sky is a whole different world.
Psychedelic extravaganza.
I call them 3D artscapes. And what they are, it came about where I was doing something with a project in real life, and I mentioned that, I could make these images in a virtual world, and you'd see them, and it would look like a photo. But what would happen is we would move into it, and it would become a 3D landscape that was immersive. And I thought about this for a long time, about trying to create these, and I got into AMV in March, and I'd say about the end of April, beginning of May is when I started building the 3D artscapes. So I've only been there since March.
We've got quite a lot of silent film we can play, so we can continue talking about this and actually seeing it at the same time. By way of a bit of an introduction here, though, you did send me 2 links beforehand, and the first one, it's very short links, but I thought we might as well play them. This is the University of Western Australia's Winners Party from 2010. And it's a very short clip you sent me, so I thought we'd these 2 have sound, so I thought we'd get them out of the way now. So let me play this. Early presents, should we say? At least I think it's got sound.
I want to hear JJ. Where's JJ? I want to hear him.
He should be in there somewhere. JJ is in the physics department at the University of Western Australia, and he was the individual that took and ran their virtual worlds. University of Western Australia one time had the largest university presence in virtual worlds. This was in Second Life, and they ran a contest for arts and for their biological arts department concepts for builds. In the course of the year, I won about maybe 7 or 8 of the monthly builds, and then there would be up to at one time close to 250 plus individuals putting pieces of art in for the contest that went on, that they had to break it down into categories because there was just so much stuff. It was a wonderful experience. I loved it. It was a good time.
I let you on to the fact that I was in fact one of the nominated judges for those things, mostly for the machinima.
The machinima stuff was incredible. That opened my eyes up when I saw that stuff. Wow.
Yeah. There were so many entries too. I mean, it would take me, I would actually download them and then I'd watch them in surround sound on a big screen TV, and, it could take a whole couple of nights.
Yes.
Them, and there was the odd one that wasn't too great, but, there was the quality of those series were phenomenal, really.
Everyone's at a skill set that they're at. Some of them are newer, some of them are older, but there was some things there that were just I can't believe they're doing this type of work. And that was
Yeah.
back in 2010 and earlier. Yeah, machinima artists spend a lot of time doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's a time when it all came together in a way, because obviously some machinima artists just actually make some. I was going to say physical, but you know what I mean, a virtual exhibit, a thing,
Yep.
and then they make a film around it, or maybe they don't, and other people just make films. But at this time, especially at the University of Australia, and you know, you could see these 3D exhibits, and you could also see all this wonderful innovatory machinima being made all at once. It's a bit, it almost felt like an arts lab, as we used to call them in the UK. You know,
Okay,
they had,
that's a good term
had
for
them.
it.
Yeah, they had them in back in the 60s. You know, and they were literally a place that people just created art, and it didn't matter whether it was experimental video, which of course was a big thing in the late 60s, or you know, sculpture or whatever. It was a lab, you know. Nothing to do with Linden Lab, but I suppose you could make parallels.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the Australia people and JJ, well, I can never remember pronounce his second name, but yeah, he was wonderful. He's still around a bit, but not
Yeah,
so.
I see him on Facebook. He posts these most delicious restaurants, and I want to call and say deliver.
I automatically mute people who show me their food. I followed you for the news. I don't want your food.
I'm a
Isn't it
firm
a shame,
believer in
though?
that.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be great if I know there are many universities who have a presence in Opensim. Obviously, educational organisations have been pretty much priced out of Second Life because of the crazy amount of money it costs to have even a simple setup over there. But imagine if we could get more universities to set up here in Second Life, in Opensim, because there are a few. Obviously, there's Rockcliffe and Rutgers and so forth. But it would be great if we had something along the lines of what JJ did all those years over here, because really, the world is your oyster. Imagine it costs so much less to have sims, and people can do so much more with so much more land. It would be brilliant.
I'm actually surprised. I mean, it sounds a bit mean for Linden House, but I'm actually surprised someone like the University of Australia didn't actually. It almost became known because it was in Second Life and had a huge, you know, it was good outreach, especially with creators. It made it go viral. But I'm in a way, I'm surprised it sort of didn't move as a whole gang over into Opensim, where it would have cost them much less money, and they would still have been able to do the same thing, because it was all about attracting people to the venues and let them witnessing the art or watching the machinima. There was nothing integral to what they did that needed Second Life. But you know, they, as you said, the costs mount up. You know.
Yeah, there were so many. I did a lot of work for universities in Second Life. UWA, Sydney, all of those places. Perth. Did
Ah,
work for the University of Tokyo. They were
oh,
part of the University of Western Australia was doing what's called a mooting contest. It's a moot point. People that go to school to become lawyers do moot trials. They built a thing for UWA, and if they won, I told them to use their pointer to click on a gavel, and it
yeah.
would took, and there were physics in the place, and it knocked down all of the opponents. And JJ told me that the department heads for the law, the university presidents, and a bunch of other players in their world played whack-a-lawyer for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, all the UWAs and all the Australian ones all wanted their own personal mooting courts. Sydney even had one of their students send me 500 images of the place that the top university, I'm at the top law firm in Sydney, paid for the University of Sydney's thing, you know. And I would get an email every now and then from there, and I was like, "Who's this?" And they go, "We walk in your place, and it looks like we're in our mooting court." I did work for Berkeley up here in Boston. Where else? Turin and Italy universities, Oxford, Leeds. There was so much of it at one time. It was incredible.
What's amazing is the oh, sorry, I faded away from the mic. That as you said, you've got Australia, and then you have Japan, and then you've got America, and this is just on universities. The idea that the virtual world can
Yeah,
become
that
not only to educational institutions but globally and working together.
it's amazing how quickly you could put together. In Second Life, they had looking through the virtual uh, looking glass with Professor Hare at University up in Mass, and they had 15 different locations in the world, in worlds, all doing an art thing. And in real life, there were events going on. It was just wonderful to be able to do this and interact with people from all across the world in a very easy format that allowed them to be immersive and sort of get a better feel of what your stuff's about.
Okay, well, getting back to your stuff,
Thank
the
you.
final thing I think has some sound here as well. This is one you sent me, which was from the OS Festival, not the Open Group. Yeah, OS Festival earlier in the year. I
Yep.
forgot what month it was now. So let's have a look at that. Again, it's quite a short clip, about 2 minutes. So.
Everyone was assigned a different parcel. And what I did is I built mine up. Called immersive is what the grid was called. And I was the space, the parcel. And these are 3D artscapes. You can walk through them, fly through them, or teleport to different locations. And I made it as big as it was a regular traditional sim size, 265 by 265. So when you get inside of them, things that are moving and stuff, they're pretty far away from you when you see it. So it's interesting that most people do not have a tough time coming inside of these things. This was just one specific build that was on the ground level. I think Mike did the video for this, and I saw it, and I said, well, he did a good job in that, so I grabbed it.
Yeah, he's very good, Mike. He's made some really nice videos.
From what I understand, he did 200 plus for Opensim Festival.
Well, for the Opensim Fest, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah. And
I know,
one of the
we showed a little bit earlier were his as well, of course. Yeah.
Right. One of the things that surprises people with these builds is that there are no particles in them. I use mesh, and I might only use 3 or 4 textures. It's how I stretch it, the settings on it, across the prim to give the different effects that help reduce the lag with less textures having to load in. I think this might only be 2 textures and an alpha in it.
So of course that really helps the people who are watching and looking at it, because it doesn't take forever to load, because it's not
right. They're all low.
thousands of, and so that they enjoy it more. It makes sense to be sensible about the lag issues, because otherwise your public doesn't see what you mean them to see.
Exactly.
Very practical.
As we'll see later, it's the same in the current stuff we'll be looking at. I actually went when the safari wasn't there to actually film, basically your ground level and the exhibits in the sky, or in outer spaces, the case may be.
There's about 45 of them up there, Mel.
Yeah, they were very quick. I noticed that just in the filming. The only time, and I get it quite a bit with the filming, is when I got to ground level, which was so vast. I had to wait ages for everything to res in. But up in the sky there, they were so economical to film, very well made. Anyway,
none of the builds have more than 100 prims in them. Some of them are only 15, 20.
Right. Okay, I've actually we'll carry on talking about this. We'll probably have quite a lot to talk about because I've got a whole clump of film here. I don't know what the total. It's not a vast amount, but there's 4 or 5 different clips of different lengths from your region. But maybe before we do that, we showed you beforehand. You've got a slideshow in front of you in World here that you can use. We should warn our viewers that some of the images on the slideshows in World here have been failing on our cameras. So I know you're going to do your best to explain what's in the picture, even if our viewers don't actually manage to see it. So do you want to go through those next before we move on to sort of ethical talk?
That sounds good. All right. The first image is sort of an ad that I've put up in Opensim Worlds. It's called AidFX. AidFX is the old Latin for creator. Immersive is what I call these things. And this is the top platform. I'm up at 9,990 meters, which you can do in certain grids in Opensim. And you have to build big. You can't go lower than that. You can go up. So you know how people put things off Sims with the prim and link it and all that? Well, you do it here by linking up and down to get the effects you want for this. Because I've got the, 40 grid size thing, so I can spread out, but I just can't go up and down at that height.
No,
but it lets you build some fun things up in the air.
So to get what you mean is to get as high as 9,000, you basically it has to be linked to something on a layer beneath it. So it's like a layering structure of links.
No, I'm saying that we can sit on a prim, go up to 9,900 meters, and then build a platform, and then go up 10,000 something, pushing it up in the air. So either above you or below you.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I know what you mean there. Yeah, okay. Somehow, no, I thought somehow you breached, the limit by having linked things on top of it.
No, I don't live in the monkeyverse.
What you're saying is it's like the usually people are familiar with the horizontal effect.
Exactly.
You have off-sim mountains, for example. As long as the root prim is on the sim, you can have. And you're saying you can flip that 90 degrees and have off-sim builds that are vertical. Is that
exactly.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. All right. So this is a real artsy type space up here. You can see 4 other builds around it, and I've probably got about 160 dancing animesh up there, and it's got a great vibe to it. It's very pretty. It's see-through. You can move through it. Things come through it. It's a fun effect to have. And I always use the type stuff when I play the music. When Sims Fest, I had 2 types of visitors: people that were there for 1 minute to 3. And they cammed everything. And then people that stayed for up to 45 minutes. Maybe they were offline, not looking, but I had a bunch of that where they came in, went through them, and took it each step at a time and listened to it. The next image that comes up is just AidFX Nyx, and it's called Prop Gallery. And that is a combination of art that's done by individuals in Opensim worlds that I'll display. And I sometimes will show in-world virtual pictures that I've done, but I think I've got a black and white set going in the images here of my real-life photography, that I try to make the images that I've taken in real life similar to if they were a virtual world type thing, making a crossover there. And that's down in my lands. And, of course, it's the tropical beach look on AidFX all around it. Some of the north coasts of California feel up in the mountains, and some are down like as if you were in Costa Rica on the beach. So it's that flavor. The whole sim is connected by water. There are walking trails, so you can take horses there, you can boat. Anything that moves on the water, anything that moves on the land, it's all available, and there's a lot of animations that I need to turn back on since I shut everything off when you guys came by with Hypergrid Safari.
Very kind of you.
Well, I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted everyone to see that. And I know you guys do a lot of work with your show to get this together and produce it. So I wasn't going to not do it right, I guess is what I want to say.
Oh, we appreciate that very much.
You're more than welcome. You're an integral part of what this world is about. You just can't be inside the grid where you click on the last dance and go see that. You should look outside what's going on. Like where you're giving all these tips, that's good. And I build everything for people to walk through it, is my mindset. And you can do what you want with that, but that's me. All right, you have one up there called...
It was quite funny, actually, when I was filming the day before. I was up in the sky and panning around, and I was already doing what you were telling us to do, like cam out and in and stuff like that. But it didn't occur to me to try walking because I thought, oh, that's the edge of a prim.
Right. As long as you stay,
there's masses of land up there that is actually just transparent flooring,
Right, but there's always a little bit you can see on the edge. I make sure you see the prim. So I tell people, stay on the texture, otherwise you're going to fall, 6,000 meters to the ground unless you catch yourself.
Yeah.
But that one's called the Deep. A lot of people like this one a lot. It's the fun place. The next, it's very ethereal. This is one that's based on the art. All those little things that look like particles, those are prims floating around. One of the good tricks to do with your camera is if you take and you get your pointer and you know all control. I use nothing but a pad. I don't use a mouse when I do that, a touch pad. I've developed that skill. You can just click on it, it'll hold it, so when it spins around, it'll pull you through the art piece itself is one way to do it. The next one is down on the ground. This was the first type of thing I built that led to me going up in the air. It's a really beautiful place, very romantic. I've been told to go and dance, and I just used to have things that would come in and out and up and down through it. And you can see fish and water's on fire and glowing trees and all that. So it's a fun place to be introduced to what's up above. And if you get up above, we're in an area where you're standing on lily pads with nothing but space underneath you. And if you're at max draw, you can see the other 3D art pieces off in the distance. And then if you decide to fly there, in about 3 minutes, you finally get there and you go, how big is this place? And what this is just things that revolve and move and you can walk. So it's an enjoyable, pleasant, relaxing environment. Now, here I am in the one called The Edge. Yeah, that's the one there, Mel, that you're showing on the video.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt, but we'll show us in a minute anyway. So, yeah.
All right. I'm inside of one of those balls that are 8-sided, basically pancake prims put together, and those all move around and through you. So if you walk around through the base itself, the exhibit, you get a totally different look. I've built ones where if you walk in one direction, you see things. If you turn back around with your avatar, turn them 180 degrees, you don't see them. They're gone. So there's all different types of effects that I've put in there. Again, a little more with the edge piece, just trying to show you the different looks at one of them rather than all of them, but how it changes when you're in it. And then finally down on the land, I tried to make my lands hyper-realistic. So when you go and walk through them, you get the feel that you're in a real place. There's a lot of detail in it. I would say I've probably got 50, 60,000 prims down there, and at least 15,000 of them are just plants filling in the background. I don't know what this image is. It looks like someone's dance ball.
That's one of our logos.
Alrighty, and then I think we're done. We're looking at the photos.
Yeah. So we're at that wonderful stuff in the sky. We're going to see it moving now, so you can talk it through it again.
Alrighty.
I'm going to move to the clips. I think that are the first ones I took were obviously down at ground level, and they were harder to film.
Place I used to go in Costa Rica.
Yeah, they were harder to film because of the extent of it. So really, what I've filmed it's got that sort of immersive feel that you've got with the later things. But we'll start playing it anyway. This is a long shot of one of your main houses down there, isn't it? So
right.
I love these little critters walking around it. What's it, an ostrich or something?
That's a flamingo.
Oh, close.
Those look like butterflies that light up, and I shouldn't have them lit. I gotta fix that. Why the focus on the houses? AMV coming up in a couple of weeks is going to do a big home and garden type tour through people's homes that they have through AMV. So there's a focus on that right now over there.
Because that's an art form too. Sometimes it's overlooked, but you can. It qualifies as an art form, just like sculpture or painting or anything else. The coming together of so many pieces, the harmonious creation of rooms, and the inside-outside space. It's a very important aspect of what's done in Opensim that is sometimes overlooked because people say, oh, it's just residential, it's just houses. But I think it's wonderful that they want to celebrate that and make an event out of it. It's a great idea.
Well, I'm pushed on it because I like design. I've got a background a little bit in that. And yeah, I want everything to look right when you go inside the place and look different. It's themed, it's built properly, and some people do wonderful jobs. We did one in Worlds. We had about 60 people sign up for it. And you'd go from one to another, self tour. There was an initial one, but it stayed for like 2 weeks, and then if you had a close sim, you closed it back down. Now, Mel, you shot this footage?
Yes, as I say, a bit laggy, but
I'm surprised it's at midnight setting.
I think, we'll have to wait and see. I think I've got some in daylight. I think it's very easy to go up into the sky and make that midnight, and then forget you're on midnight when you get back down again.
Yeah, because I usually keep it at daylight. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, the other advantage I remember when I did film this was that filming at midnight allowed me to get maybe a bit more detail in these things that are lit up. It gained a lot more contrast, whereas the area is so gigantic. Filming in daylight made it look a bit holy. Things in the distance were not rezzing that quickly, and I don't know. It just felt natural to have a go at that. Well, that's it actually. But I think the first clip I ever took there was in daylight. This one would be in daylight, I think. And this is your house.
Is
it must be on the ground.
This is at that gallery I showed the image of earlier. This is my loft up above the gallery itself.
Right.
And now you're down at the gallery level, and that's a complete Asian theme type place. Yeah, pictures of Boston. Skylines, stuff like that, yeah.
Sorry about the pics of me.
No problem.
The easiest way of focusing sometimes is to lock onto yourself and then turn.
And see, Mal, to sort of the upper left, you just saw it for a second. There were some guys in hats too, just like you. They were called Amish.
Oh, those. Yeah, I know. I've heard that. I drove through that country at one point.
I actually caught a picture of like 4 or 5 of them standing in the distance, looking at Logan Airport from the Boston Harbor, and the photo did quite well. People say that reminds me of the Beatles. Cherry Manga's piece. God, she does good work.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
incredible.
That's got to be Cherry.
Oh, absolutely, it's Cherry. I got, I think, 2 pieces of her in there. And I'll change them around when I find something nice. And it's part of the beach I live on. That I think might have been part of at least the gal sitting with the Hajibon was part of a series I did during COVID, where it was isolation. I only took pictures of individual people by themselves.
Or the landscapes too, very.
Yeah, I like doing beachscapes.
Uninhabited, just very natural. No interfering humans. Oh,
there you go. There's your bandmates. I could see you right in there, Mal, in the back. You could be the guy before Ringo.
He's definitely the drummer, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I had that picture in my and did not even recognize that. Oh my God, what do I have here? It surprises you when you go digging back through stuff, just like an inventory.
Yes. Oh, don't talk about inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you've got multiple alt avatars for different purposes and they've all got their own inventory. You try sorting that lot out one day. Now we're back in your house here again. Yes, I love
up above in the loft section.
Yeah.
It's just showing off design.
This little corner here, it just feels right, the sort of tantric type sort of partition and the I don't know, the decor and everything. Is it Buddhist type or is it Tibetan sort of?
Yeah, there are quite a bit of textures there. I want to say, Snoots, I recognized about 4 or 5 of my textures, man. I'm glad you used them. And I'm probably going to have to ask you to get copies of them, Snoots. because I lost
Yeah.
10,000 textures when a certain grid closed in 3 days.
Yeah, I think he was over there, wasn't he? He was there before the crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you know Snoots back in the day?
Yeah, a long time. He bought textures from me. I
Oh,
had a
cool.
place in a grid Inworlds, and I had a store, and I had over 10,000 textures that I created from images I shot in real life.
All right.
So everything you can imagine, steampunk ones, there's big steampunk festivals here in Boston, all
Uh,
Asian ones that go to Chinatown. It was all sorts of stuff. I made tons of Celtic, all sorts of things. Viking, yeah, it was a large 10,000 textures. It was a large store.
but that's the great thing about hypergridding, that you can kind of spread the risk and have stores in different places. And it's
Well,
deadly when you have everything counted. You're counting on one closed grid, and then they just go poof like that. Especially when it happens. It's just happened the other day, yesterday, to a grid here in Opensim that just went offline, and everybody has basically lost their stuff. But talking to various members of the grid, they said, well, sad about it. Now I have lost stuff, but obviously I have other avatars and I've been saving my stuff in other places. So that is the great thing. Knowing that OpenSim, unfortunately, has this quality of unreliability, let's say, it's good to sort of kind of spread the load, because you never know when somebody's servers are going to crash or somebody's just going to up and close the grid for other reasons. So it's always wise to be kind of a little here and a little bit there, and then you're less likely to lose your stuff.
my mistake was I didn't back it up to portable hard drives.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah, it was me.
But
I
then that's
screwed
a
up on
huge
that.
headache to have to. It's a huge headache to have to move everything too. That's true.
Yeah, because I do it in my real life photography, back everything up onto hard drives. Right. Now we're up in a region that's sort of the northwest field. It's called
Yeah,
Woodloft.
again, this is a second piece that I was just clipping while it was still nighttime. So
We visited here, Thirza, when we came to the tour. This and the place we
I
saw
really
the
like
first.
that very much, and I saw it in nighttime too, because I think maybe that's the default setting of the region. We usually try and respect people's settings, so if they have an EP or a wind light or something set, we try and immediately turn our graphics to whatever the person has set. But I suppose if you have it set for midnight for upstairs, then it doesn't really make sense down in the beaches. But it's kind of cool. I like the effect.
yeah, I
Walk
mean,
around on the beach
looking at
at
the
night.
burning the fireplace and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Obviously that will look okay in the daytime too, but at night it somehow feels right. So it's swings and roundabouts, really, isn't it? Oh, and I remember
A walk,
now.
yeah, circle, yeah, roundabout, yeah.
Now,
But that's part of a walking tour from that place that you'll go through canyons and see a bunch of different stuff. About a quarter of the sim it walks across if
yeah,
you were to pull out.
the next day when we were with you, of course, I remember
Ooh.
wandering off down that path a little bit, and then eventually giving up. I thought it was more like a sort of winding, long and winding road.
What
Lovely,
you're
though.
filming right now is, I call it the Falls of Heaven. It's the Avatar floating mountains or whatever they were. And I dug the ground down because I have an art piece underwater there, and I was able to lower these into that space. I've got a boat tour for that at the midnight setting. It's mind blowing. And I want to usually just keep it daylight so everyone can see. But you can walk around from all of those, and it's the waterfalls coming down. And when you get in the middle of it underneath, it's mesmerizing.
Reminds me of it. I've never been much of a gamer, but when Myst came along, God knows how many centuries ago that was.
Oh,
I
God, I
immediately-
remember that. Mist.
I still, every time I see a virtual landscape with bridges over canyons and waterfalls and things, I think of Myst. It's like, oh, that was the original place, with all this characteristic fantasy stuff. Let's move up a bit here. See where we are. Right now, this is the first of many in the sky. So
Right.
the various levels of. These were really based on the landmarks you gave Thirza in advance. So jumping from bit to bit. As I mentioned, I was sort of the way I can, it's just sort of sometimes I don't really move at all.
Well,
So
the reality
I
is, you come into these.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so that's why I wouldn't have realised that there was invisible flooring there to walk along in some cases. But yeah.
So, what motivated you to come to AMV? What was the story?
I went out to a couple other grids, and I honestly did not get interaction from the owners of the grid to participate, and I wasn't going to join it unless I knew a little bit more about each grid. I've known Kat and people that were in there. There were a lot of people, and they were pushing to take and make AMV a grid that became a destination grid for different type things. They're focused really hard on, live bands, DJs, and now they're pushing into the art side of it.
And they're also very educational. Have you thought about that? I think you mentioned something to me about that you'd be interested in maybe passing on some of the techniques that you've put together over the years. You were talking about that during our visit. That would be a fun thing to do, because I don't know if you know Lauren Tone over there on AMV. He teaches a sound course
at Trifon
every
University.
Exactly. I mean, it would be fun to see that growing, because there's so many people with skills like yours that you may think, well, many of the things I do, everybody knows how to do it. They just don't do it. But you'd be surprised. It's lovely to see how you can share your skills. The lady who won, we were talking about this last week, weren't we, Mel? A couple of weeks ago. The lady who won, who got the most money for the OS Grid the auction, I should say. Her item that was sold off to help fund OS Grid, she learned her particle skills at a course on AMV. So she didn't know anything about particles. She went to a course, and thanks to that, she was able to raise some money to support OS Grid. So it's a wonderful way to sort of feed the community, and people are always curious. So I wonder if you would consider doing that, teaching a course maybe once a month or something.
I have done that, and I actually did a course on how to build these things. What's the baseline of what you need to do and how you can do it. A lot of people are amazed. They're surprised that there's no particles when they look. It's all trim and texture. So yeah, I have done that with that. I'm going to be really honest. I tend to want to do the more advanced skill set stuff than basic 101.
Right.
They do supply the 101 stuff. So during the tour, there was a couple of people that IM that want to learn about how to do this so they can do it in their grids.
That's great.
Yep.
I paused this because I remember we were talking earlier about this particular scene where you've got. Obviously, when I found it and was filming, I just went in with camera.
Which is a whole different feel.
Yeah, I know, because later on the tour, of course, on Safari, which I haven't got, we actually were able to dance with these, but we had to. I remember you asked us to put the settings up for the avatars, didn't we? So,
right, max avatar. You got to pull it out, otherwise you don't see all the mesh dancing, because they're just animesh pieces.
They still look pretty convincing because they've got the
it looks.
they've got the humanoid form, which is
right.
It was awesome. Yeah, very cool.
It's a mind-blowing thing. We're going to do a dance there once, since none of those affect lag, since they're animesh.
Yeah.
Well, don't say that too loud.
Well, not as bad as other things. You know what I mean. And here's
I know
another
what you
one
mean, but I'm incredibly superstitious about lag.
Right. And it's
seen from outside.
Never ever say that it won't be caused lag. Because the lag gods are listening, and they will make you eat your words.
No, I sacrifice scripts to them all the time. Have a place specific to go burn that God is satisfied. The one you're seeing across from the angel, that's called hypercubes. It's a bunch of different weird things when you walk through it. My builds change as you walk through them visually. So I'm going to suggest to everyone that thinks I'm going to camp for 2 minutes and be done, you are not experiencing virtual worlds properly, plain and simple. You're not seeing it when you do that. You're seeing it from afar. But
Or
I
you're
don't know
making,
if you can.
or you're making a short clip for a show.
That works
Yeah.
too. But you have to be on the
Well,
sim
yeah, of
for quite a
course.
while before you can make a clip. Is that not
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It takes a while to get your
Uh-huh.
bearings.
I don't know if you've taken cam way back in any of these, because what they
Um,
do is they
this
turn
is
into
a,
little universes
yeah.
hanging out in space all by themselves. I've got a tour where I give you these balloons to help you fly when you're there. And there's about 35 different locations. You just click on a note card and it'll take you out into space where you look at these from outside. Yeah, there you go. You get a better idea of it
Yeah.
now. And you can see another one above it and another one to.
Yeah. I think this is as far as I was able to pan out when I was coming on that session. Though I know when we came round to you in the week, I managed to do some more camming. But that wasn't filming, of course, because it was too many people
And
around
then
to
you can
fire
see
the
down
camera.
below and the glittery stuff. Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a slew of them. One tour is purely teleport to space in a circle. So you'll end up at the beginning when you've gone through
Yeah,
after seeing it
all
all.
this stuff, as you told us, it's not particles at all. These are all, tiny meshy things, aren't they? They're just,
Oh no. And these people think are particles, they're mesh pieces.
yeah. And
Probably,
definitely psychedelic here.
yeah. And there's one you wear on your head and you fly and you try to go through the center of the circle. But I wasn't going to do
I
that with
think
everyone
we
that
did
night.
that. Didn't we do that one time, some time ago when you
You
shoot?
and I did, yes, yes.
Yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
Oh, it was. I try to do every couple of them something that's really a little different. There's some that have been requested, just put a dance ball up, please. And so I've done that.
Yeah,
So,
people like to
different
sit on
experiences.
something. They love to sit on things. James is the worst, though. James is terrible. He's always sitting on things. Inappropriately
Does
sometimes.
does James go around in the TV equipment audio van and just park?
No,
No, but
I
he will
just
sit on
Jimmy,
a thing.
Not quite.
I just like to make
Jimmy, I
trouble.
got a few friends in real life. The local TV station affiliates and the Riviera local access, and they'll do that to the last second.
All the news that you need to see.
That's right.
And some that you really didn't need to see.
You'd
Yeah,
rather not
yeah.
see.
Right from my keister in my van on my phone. Oh, I got to go out. Hold on.
Hold on, that's all right.
Well, we're at the end of the clips here, actually, except for the.
Well, thank you.
That was whatever. So we've looked at everything. Right. James,
Did
That
you
was
pick
fun.
any of the clips I had from like the Borg thing and stuff like that, the old ones?
that was
They're
all
only
I had time for.
okay.
Once you sent me links to, I found those two from the UWA and things. But
Alrighty.
yeah, I did in the rush and doing the other show before this. I didn't have time to check all of them.
No problem, because
We got enough anyway, and it's quite nice to have the silent stuff to talk over, even if it is a bit sort of slow. But yeah, James, have you any thoughts, questions for Nyx? Our silent wonder here, James.
No, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
great to look at it and see the. I really, I was thinking before. Part of the experience is to be. Part of the challenge is to be mindful when you go on a hypergrid safari, and you can be distracted and seeing so many different things, and just trying to be present in the moment, and really live the experience. I think is a big part of it, and especially this area is very much like that.
I
that
appreciate
was
Nick. You really took the time to close up extra pieces because obviously we know that Safari only ever scratches the surface. We really don't get to see the full region ever in any place, and especially a place like this. It's so big and so much happening. So it's much appreciated that you took the time to distill that part of the build that you wanted to show us. And it makes much more pleasant, I think, for everybody because if we're rushing about crazy like just trying to see everything, you end up just with a blur, and you don't really remember what you've seen. Instead, the way you ran the tour, it was very memorable. Each piece was different. It was a contrast, but it came together in such a harmonious way. So thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank you for your help going through this. I am going to say I have another totally separate sim called Immersive on AMV, and it's dedicated to just these art pieces. And they're different than what's on my home grid, and you can TP up through them. There's about 20 of them, all stacked up in the sky, one after another. And it's a wonderful, relaxing, visually, I promise you, you've never seen anything like these things before in virtual world. They're 3D immersive artscapes for you to be, as I like to say, part of the art.
Super.
Nice.
Mal, thank you for inviting me on the show. It was a great time.
It's been
James,
wonderful having you here. I mean, we've covered really quite a lot, with despite a few technical difficulties at the beginning, we've got it sorted. And
well, that was a lot with me not knowing. Thank you for covering that up. I appreciate it. I'll admit when I'm wrong.
Pull back the sheets now.
And James, brilliant, flawless, seamless behind-the-scenes control, which I've done a lot of that in the audio world, and I did all sorts of studio remixing back in the old disco days, because I was one of the original disc jockeys up in Boston back in the 70s.
Okay.
So I can appreciate what you're going through. I understand that. There's a lot of work there, my friend.
There's
Good
buttons
job.
all over the screen. I just don't know which button to push sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Push them all and see what happens.
Push them all and see what happens. Right.
Just avoid the eject one, because we don't want you
Right.
to disappear.
That one I have down, and then the band one.
Oh.
I want to thank everyone that's come and looked at our video today, and you're all welcome to come visit 8 Effects. Look at my profile in the AMV world, and there'll be links galore to different things in the old pics, which seems to be a dying art in open sims. People don't fill out profiles anymore.
That's true. That's a good point you bring out. People don't use that enough, that feature. That's
I
true.
used to love to profile perv when you were at an event. Click, oh, what do they got? What do they?
yeah.
Well, you'd find different places to go visit.
Yep.
Because I used to have a group in Second Life that was places that people didn't know about that you'd post up in the group chat, and people would go visit it and they'd post theirs. It was so much fun to just go explore.
Yeah.
When I first came into virtual worlds, I didn't build a thing for a year and a half. All I did was go explore. And then someone showed me how to res a prim, and that's all it took. If there's not any last questions, I want to thank you all very much. It was a wonderful experience with you.
Well, sure. Hopefully we get a lot of people watching it, and we'll actually follow up. And of course, we're trying to make a point of putting all the comments and stuff in the YouTube chat, which is another helpful way of getting people to click on GPs. The thing I really miss with Opensim actually is, I mean, obviously with Opensim World here it's good, but it's the thing they have in Second Life called the slurl. It used to be that you could click on one of those and it would launch your web browser and immediately take you to the Second Life map, and then immediately take you to the regions, providing you had, Second Life browser in your system. And but something we don't get nowadays is the idea that you can just be on the web or watching the YouTube and click a link and teleport to where you got to be,
Well, technically speaking, the Hop 2 link is supposed to do that, but from many experiences where it hasn't worked, at the end of the day, it's just easier to write the address out.
Yeah, they never even
Just open your own viewer.
Yeah, even the slow thing. I mean, it depends on nobody can know whether you're using a Second Life viewer or Firestorm or any of the others. So the default that Second Life used obviously launched Lyndon's own viewer. It didn't obey anybody else's.
I've always thought that that's the challenge for Open Sim Worlds is you have to go to the grid, create an avatar, go through all that process. Someone had a viewer that you were on the web and you could click and you were put into a default avatar with just the directions of use your arrow keys to look around. I think would be a lot more people coming to these worlds and capturing them if they found a great interest in it.
There was an experiment at some point. I don't think it was Second Life, where it basically was able to render in a web browser um,
Ooh,
a camera view of the world you went into, but you could see other avatars, but you didn't have an avatar of your own. You could use your arrow keys to wander around, but
right.
it was
Point of view.
Yeah,
That's all
that's
you
cool.
need.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
really all you need to introduce people to this.
Yeah. I mean, when I started doing video and TV, what, about 15 years ago, we were filming in Second Life, and a lot of it was that. At the time, I thought, well, what better way to get people interested in this than to show them on video what they'll see if they go in and explore.
Right.
This was nothing like that. I mean, now, of course, there's well, there's a ton of video around, but I always thought, video it's not interactive. You've got to put up with whatever I film, but it still gives you that taste of what is possible.
Exactly.
And that's always been the struggle, to find a way of telling people what it's like without actually
right.
obligating
then
them to go through the whole works.
and then becomes the challenge of setting it up, get in there when you want to go do it. That makes it difficult for people.
Yeah.
And on another note, I'm going to say I've been around long enough that I was with MIT when we did the first ever, and I was part of that jump from Second Life into a completely different grid. And we had all our clothes.
I was there, a hypernaut.
Yes,
We
I
were
was
the
part of
hypernaut.
that.
You're Hypernaut twins then. That's nice to know.
That
that's-
both so
James
good
and
looking.
James and I weren't even born back then. Those
That's
days. I
right.
just point that out.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. It was and there was another thing that Philip was talking about recently. It was basically it was called the Open Simulator Explorers Group or something, and I think
Yeah.
he was in it. I think
That's
because
Pathfinder's group. That is.
no, even
Yes,
before,
Pathfinder. No one uses that anymore.
no, the Open Sim Explorers was in Second
Something
Life.
else.
It was a Second
Oh,
Life.
gotcha.
It was a Second Life group compiled mostly of Lindens who had to be in the group to teleport out of Linden World into Open Sim. But this was a really early Open Sim. It wasn't what the Hyper Group wasn't
Gosh.
invented. And
Yeah.
but Philip mentioned it because they used the same group to prototype face animations using motion capture. They were up to all sorts of stuff, but invariably Philip didn't go with anything unless it was commercially viable for Second Life. So there aren't enough people there yet, and now he loves it.
And one of the conversations
right.
that happened when we moved from Second
Yeah.
Life out into another grid,
Yeah.
how wonderful it was. And they realized everyone had, their clothing and all that stuff with them was, is this copyboarding if we go here and there?
Yeah.
And that was talked for a bit, the pros and cons of that.
And of course, there's no guarantee your clothes would arrive with you anyway.
Surprisingly, there was a bunch of us on it, if you remember, and we all did.
Yeah.
MIT was the strength behind all that stuff with him, with Philip.
God,
All I know is that in the early days of hypergridding, if you found your hair on your head and not stuck in your buttock, that was a good day.
Or when Second Life you turn into cheese that was rainbow colored. You remember those? Your avatar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still triangulate your avatar even today. If you do enough grid jumps, 16 or 17 grid jumps is about my limit, and then suddenly my avatar is just triangulated. It just turns into vertices. So that's worth trying too.
Well, you've got to sacrifice scripts to the lag gods.
Exactly.
The
I
one
don't.
thing
I
I
just
have
don't
not-
think I do enough.
The one thing I have not seen for long enough, thank goodness, is the texture missing costume.
Oh,
Remember
yes.
the black and white? It looked like a prison uniform or something. Texture missing.
Uh-huh.
Missing.
Where everyone would. Oh, you could go on someone's grid and take out your text order, and I'd have like 7,000 textures in it, and we'd start it running, and someone else would do theirs and would just bomb the grid.
You sound
Second Life
like a
naughtiness.
griefer to me.
Not one iota. I don't like them. I'll ban them, but we discovered that by mistake. We're trying to load stuff up on a person's grid. We both banged out. When we get back, we're laughing. I go, "Ooh, look at this trick."
Well, the best beauty of Opensim, not griefing so much as like if you're not griefing, but you can experiment. Presumably,
Exactly.
you can go and do what will be called griefing, but with permission, sort of thing. And this Opensim is open enough that you can, if you don't try it, you don't find out whether you can do it or not. Or you don't learn. You got to make
Exactly.
a mistake to learn not to do it again, kind of thing. So it's called learning.
So, a question, Thurza. Are you going to have a Hypergrid Safari Christmas one where you go around and look at different people's places?
Well, no.
No,
We
no,
have in the past. We have in the past, but so there's the season of Safari ends in mid-November. There were only 10 safaris in each season, and so this season will end mid-November. That gives people time to do real-life stuff. There is a special safari for the Opensim Community Conference. That is on, I want to say, the 11th of December. It's a Sunday. I think Mal can correct me if I'm wrong there.
yeah.
And then, is that right? Yeah. And then I take a break because I have to do things in real life. And then we come back in January with some really amazing builds. And I'm currently booking the second season of 2023, which is in April and May. So if somebody has an idea for a trip that they would like to develop, and let me know, now is a good time to get in touch so that I can book you. Because the calendar fills up very fast.
To this time next year, I'm already sure.
Pretty much, yeah.
Really? I want to thank you for letting me know about the OS conference. I didn't have a clue. I tried to, but the date has come and gone for that.
Well, let's talk after about that.
Actually,
Right.
yeah, it is extended. You can still apply.
I have
only
the concept down. It would be art-based. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of more days left. It was extended. It always happens, I know, because I'm, it's
Yeah,
one
he's
thing.
the man to set you up. Nyx, you're talking to the right guy here.
Yeah, but
You mean the all-powerful Mal Burns?
I would add
He is, yeah.
I would add that the show continues even when Safari's not on. So
Oh yeah, that's
keep
not.
everything sorted. Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
maybe if
It's
they might
always
not be
news.
around anymore. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we'd better call it a wrap. We could talk for ages, obviously. We'll probably go offline and continue, but there we go. That's life. I think, about time to close. So, everybody, I hope you really enjoyed all this. Great looking at all the spectacles in the sky and everything else. My thanks to Nyx Breen, our guest here. Thanks, Nyx.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful time participating. It was a great time chatting with you all today.
Great. And thanks to my co-host, Thirza Ember. Thank you, Thirza.
Thank you, Mal.
And thanks to the tech wizard, James Atlloud. Thank you, James.
Oh yeah, always glad to hold down the ship if I can.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to say one personal thanks. Very thanks for all the help getting this together.
Okay, wonderful. I should thank myself too, but that doesn't sound right. So okay, from the four of us, thank you for watching. We'll be back with another show, same time, same place next week. Well, I say same time. That would depend on whether you're in Europe or America, but you get the idea. Subscribe on YouTube, and you can't fail because they send you a message saying he's gone live. And you can't miss that, can you? Right, okay. So have a good week, everybody. Stay safe. Winter is coming. Make sure you're locking yourself down, staying indoors, and doing things online where possible. Remember, there's a whole virtual world out there that doesn't include spiky viruses or anything like that. So take it easy, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.